Hey everyone, Eggman here with another video, and today we have a top 8 breakdown for the UKTC Fusion World Regionals that happened this weekend. It was 62 players with this top 8 that we see here today, and a couple of things before we get started. First, if you guys are interested in your own tournament or playing in a tournament, I do have one coming up this Tuesday, August 27th. It is a 64-player cap. It's on the online client, and it has a box for first place and prizing out for top 8, so make sure to check it out if you can. And then also, I do want to thank the Lookout for not only providing the deck list for this one, but they also did the live stream for this event too. So I have it linked in the description as well as on the page, but you guys can check out the links so you guys can check out the games. And again, appreciate the Lookout for doing that. So, but going on into this video, we do have a top 8 of 2 Jiren, with one of them winning the event, 2 of the new blue Goku, 1 Star Deck Vegeta, 1 Aandroidd 17, 1 Beerus, and 1 Bardock from the new Star Deck. So honestly, pretty diverse, and these are all leaders that I was, on my radar are just really strong in this format in general. I'm not surprised yellow didn't top, to be honest. I think yellow is probably the weakest color right now, especially with Jiren on the board. Jiren, like the 4-drop, yellow doesn't really have a great way to remove that card, which is really unfortunate. So, but I do think that there is a really good format that we have right now. There's not really a deck that's the forerunner, and honestly, like Jiren is viable, but I didn't think it'd be winning a tournament like this. So I think that's really surprising and really interesting too. So we are going to go over the top placing list of each one of these leaders. Actually, we're going to go over just all 8 of them, since they're all topped, and I just want to talk about all of these leaders anyway. So we're just going to go through all of them real quick. So we're going to start off with their first place list, which is Sofaine's version of Jiren. And again, I'm pretty surprised that this deck topped, or not topped, but won this event, mostly because again, it does have a little bit of an issue with cards like blue and black at times, just being able to bounce back cards that you wanted on the board. Generically, it's this Jiren, right? If this is able to stay on the board for as long as possible, it gets a lot of value. It has a lot of good synergy with your own leader effect of being able to essentially draw 2 cards for free on the defense step once per turn, which is really nice. And it also kind of gets out of an attack. So if your opponent's attacking into your leader and they're trying to do damage, you deal the damage, you heal it, and then you can't take more damage for the attack. So that's very strong. But obviously, like blue can bounce it back to hand or bottom deck it, and black also has like the new pan super rare that lets you do that too. So if this doesn't stick on the board, it's rough. And also red, if it gets if it gets down to 0 power, it still gets removed. Like the permanent that can't be KO'd once per turn, it's doesn't prevent minusing for it. So, but this one is more of a like tournament of power kind of engine, just because we do have like the Kefla here. We also do have the Sun Gohan and Adolescence, so just a really good combo with those cards as well. We do have like the Khalifa and also just our 1-drops. This card is really good, by the way. If you aren't using this card in every red deck, it is a mistake. Your leader is almost always going to be awakened every game, and then it's just for 1 energy you're giving something plus 20k, and the cost is that, oh, it's only a 10k in hand kind of thing. It's very good. Highly recommend playing this card in literally every red deck. It's super good. Like there's no reason to play like any like 1-drop of the extra cards, because it's just better than them in my opinion. So we do have some removal. I think Rumshi's been gaining a lot of popularity for these decks too for red. It's just a really good card on curve. It's great at being like a 10k, and yeah, it's just fantastic in a lot of situations. So I think this is a good card for this meta. And we do have a couple of removals of 2 God Kamehamehas as well as 1 Spear of Destruction. So choose one of your opponent's battle cards is 25k power or less and KO it. Then if your opponent's life is 4 or more, you get to deal damage to them. So burn damage is pretty uncommon for these games, and obviously it can't win you the game, but I do think that's strong. So in general, this looks like a really solid deck. I'm looking forward to seeing what the finals looks like too. I haven't been able to watch it myself, but big congratulations to Sofaine. And then we also have Kevin's version of the deck as well. And so this one's has a little bit extra of tech cards and a little bit of changes, but you can see it's mostly the same. Again, using more of like the tournament of power engine. Again, Kefla is a really good card even at 1, and then we do have like some aggression with like the Son Gokus. We do have Saved by a Barrier, so activate battle once per turn, choose up to your leader or one of your battle cards, gets plus 20k power for the battle. Then if the chosen card is a battle card, it can't be KO'd for in battle for the turn. So technically you could super save this, right? I think that could be strong. But I don't think that's... I'd be interested if this is just like a really good defensive card too. So otherwise, ratio is pretty similar. We are also playing like a swag copy of the Secret of Son Goku, which I think this could be good for finishing a game, right? Being able to KO something and do that extra burn damage could be strong in that regard too. So, but these are the builds. Congratulations to both Sofaine and Kevin for their finishes there. Next up, we have second place, which is QAWIEM with their version of Vegeta. And honestly, Vegeta is probably one of my favorite decks in this format. I think it's just really strong. The way that I've been playing it is just being able to be really defensive early game, and then because of that, we're going to be at a high life total, and we're always going to be at 7 cards or less. But this is more of like the skillless version of the deck. So it works with this Vidal. So for 1, activate main. If you have 7 or fewer cards in your hand, you get to play 1 skillless battle card with the cost of 3 or less from your hand. So being able to just say, oh, for 1, I get to play a 3. It has to be from your hand. If it was from your drop, this card would be pretty busted. But being able to do that, I think, is great. Just makes it easy for you to play some bodies early and get some pressure. So we have a bunch of these. We have the Great Saiyaman, we have the Son Gohan Adolescence, as well as the Gotenk. So I think those are very, very strong. We also have like the new card of the Vegeta being able to be a critical 20k, but also help us go to 0 or go to Awakened is great. And then our top end is just like the Vegito as well as the 5-drop Vegeta. So these I think are very strong. We all are also playing the Sinister Sickle, which is great for getting rid of the Jiren, as we talked about the 4-drop. Really can't survive around blue because we have Sickle, we have Vegito, we have Vegeta being able to bottom deck a 4 or less. I think 4 costs are really, really popular for this meta. So I am kind of interested to see that we're not playing the 4-drop Great Saiyaman. I think that's really great, especially if we like Vegito on 3 and then they don't remove it. We can remove a 4 and with the 4-drop of the Gohan Adolescent. So a little bit surprised on that one, but I think that is fine. And yeah, in general, I think this deck is good. We're playing one of every super, very cute. And then Zeno is like our emergency button to kind of, if our opponent has like a ramp more of, resources and it just makes sense to clear the board, that's fine there too. So we're also not playing the 2-drop Vidal, I just noticed, because 1-drop Pilaf's really good, but no 2-drop Vidal to be able to recycle your Pilafs. Or even like your, I guess Vidal can't get itself, but I think that's interesting. But I think this deck is really good. I think Vegeta has a lot of ways to gain value. And it's kind of like, I don't know if like mid-range is the right word for it, but I think it's in a good spot. So this is QAWIEM's version, and congratulations for their finish with Vegeta. Next up, we've got Goku. So this is the new Goku from set 3. And honestly, I really like this deck, and I think it's probably the most popular deck from set 3. It has this kind of interesting Satan City engine. So you want to be able to use your Orange Star High School kind of early, keep it on the board. You can use it with your leader effect to get a bonus plus 10k once per turn, which is really nice. And then you're able to just gain a lot of card advantage. So my only issue with this deck is that occasionally that it's a little bit clunky because you do have to run a lot of cards without any combos. So like the Vidal, the Great Saiyaman, we play so many of these extras as well. So it can be a little bit tricky for the deck in general. But this is Cameron's version of the build, and I do like what it looks like. And we have like the engine of like the Erasa, the Hercule, and the Sharpener. And then you also have the you prefer girls with short hair. So being able to say activate main, if you have 3 or more cards with State and City and their special traits in your battle area, you get to draw 3 and then place 1 card from your hand to the top of your deck, which lets you set up your Orange Star High School, or like effects for like Sharpener, or even like the Hercule. So the -2 cost reduction is actually really good for him. Like it gets a lot of things into range. So this can get rid of a 4 cost by itself and for Hercule, which is great. And then obviously like Son Gohan Adolescence. So being able to put like one on the top of your deck, you attack with Hercule, and then even like pop High School to be able to play it off the top of your deck to get rid of a 5 and a 3 is really, really good value. So I think this deck is good. We also do have Moses's version of it as well. This one I think is a little bit more into the actual archetype for it. So a little bit of like the generic cards, right? We're playing 4 of pretty much all the good cards. We also have the Great Saiyaman, which this can be surprisingly good removal. Choose up to one of your opponent's battle cards that cost less than or equal to the number of cards of Saiyan City and their special traits in your battle area, and place it at the bottom of their owner's deck. So being able to say the same like Hercule will be able to attack in if the top card is a Satan City, you're able to then get rid of a 3 cost with just him in this card, right? And if you have the High School, which the High School usually never leaves the board unless you want it to, you get like 2. So get rid of a 4 cost, which again is Jiren. So it's very strong there. So I think this deck has a lot. There again, you do run a lot of cards without any combos, so you do have have the issue of like potentially just having like 6 cards in hand, but only 2 cards you can combo with. So that's the only thing I don't really like about this deck. You are kind of you're in a bad spot at times, but the amount of cycle you get is great. The fact that you get to draw 2 and top deck 1, I think is really good. And yeah, even just like this the Sun Goku effect is really good. So I like the deck a lot. I think it's in a good spot. And congratulations to both Cameron and Moses for their finishes there. All right, next up you've got Aandroidd 17. So this is Daniel's version of the build, and we're pretty much still in FB02 meta with this deck. I think it was one of, if not the best deck in FB02 outright. It was really popular in the least, and so there's not really a reason to change what's not broken for this one. Green, I think in this set was a little bit more archetype based and a little bit more specific for it, so it was a little bit trickier to play some cards and get with it, especially when, again, Aandroidd 17 is just so efficient and so synergistic with itself that there's not really a lot of room for new cards. So we do have, obviously, 4-drop Aandroidd 17/18 is really great, being able to get to 6 energy very quickly, so you can, on 4 go to 5, and then you can use like Trunks Future or a destructive strength to be able to go from 5 to 6, which means you get your leader's effect on active, but also like your Aandroidd 18 starts getting its thing, and then you play 17/18 next turn, leading into a Broly BR. So I think the biggest add of cards of a card that we're playing in this meta that we weren't playing in other meta was this Sun Gohan Childhood, just being able to pop a 4 or less. Again, there's just a lot of good 4 costs that exist right now, so being able to just remove it and be able to get a 30k body that's also just a 10k in hand, so you don't really care about that, I think is strong in general. So I don't really have much to say about this deck. It's still present. I think it's still very good. And congratulations to Daniel for their finish there. Next up, we've got Beerus. So this is James's version of the build. And this is, again, like, I think Aandroidd 17 and Beerus are still very good. They're both, I think, were the top decks from last format. Frieza was too, but it's been retired, I think, a little bit for this format as is. But there's no better removal than Beerus. Beerus has the best removal in the game. The fact that we're able to get minuses, and there's no real protection for that outside of barrier, which only yellow has, which again, yellow's not really being played right now. But the fact that we also have this new support, this card is stupid good for the deck. It does pretty much everything you need it to do. It's a 10k. It's a Universe 7 card, so if you need to search for it, there's searchers for it. But also, activate main for 1, place this card. It self-awakens, but place it in your owner's drop. You get to play God Destruction with a named Beerus, 35k power from your hand. So you get to play this guy on turn 4, essentially. And if you have the energy marker, you get to do it on turn 3, which means that there's legitimately nothing that you get to do a board clear no matter what. And then you have a 35k crit. And in most situations, your opponent's not going to really have an easy way to get rid of this Beerus. So the fact that this will likely get 2 critical 35k attacks in is very, very strong, I think, in this meta. It helps that out a lot. So we also do have a couple extra new cards. We do also have like this Vegeta. So I don't know how my thoughts about this card. Beerus usually is a deck that doesn't have a lot of extra cards in hand. It just kind of has like the right amount of cards. It doesn't have a lot of cycle and that kind of stuff. So discarding 2 is a lot, but the fact that you can say, oh, this is like a 15k, you discard 2 15ks to make this a 50, that's fine. I think that's fine. It also gets like a KO, right? So you also don't have to like give the boost. You can attack with it and then like do the KO effect, so you don't have to discard 2. So it's probably fine. It's tournament power, right? You can play it off your Kefla too. So it's an interesting card. It's just one that I need a little bit more experience with too. But in general, I think this deck is great. I'm surprised we went with Hit instead of the Khalifa and also the Krillin. I definitely like the Khalifa a little bit more, especially since we are a crit leader, but I digress on that point. So this is the build here. Congratulations to James for their finish. And to wrap it up, we do have Bardock. So this is Raphael's version of it, and this looks pretty similar to John Argos's build from the TAC one on the previous weekend. Not that there's a huge card pool for black right now, and it just kind of shows like what I've been thinking about Bardock more recently, of like, yeah, it does kind of have this whole like archetype and like idea that, oh, if you can play something off the top of your deck for free, you get that advantage. But like, you don't really need to do that. You can just like Kakarot can set it up, right? But it doesn't matter. Like the top card of your deck, if it's a card you can combo with, great. If not, you can see if you need the card, and if you don't, put it to the bottom of your deck. So just even that advantage is good, and you're just like a 25 every turn for free. So just that on a leader for an archetype that I think generally has some pretty good cards is great. You do have to play 4 of this guy, so I also think that's kind of a barrier of entry for people for this deck. I think 4 of this guy is more expensive than most decks that exist right now. So if you're not committed to this card game, It's hard to justify playing this deck a little bit if you don't have all 4, but I think that's strong. Hercule's been a surprise for me. I think this card wasn't on my radar originally, but being able to just draw a card, like we have so many good 1-drops in this deck. Like this whole top row is 1-drops, and this card is really viable. This card is really viable. Giru is viable. Just a draw card, or even like the Power Brothers. Like this card's insane, to be honest. Like just the fact that you're able to use this as like semi removal, and then like you for 1 is very good in this game, I think. So other than that, we do have like we have to run 3 of all the super rares, right? We have the Goku GT, Son Goku GT, or Pan GT Goku, and Bardock. Pan's fantastic at getting rid of like Jiren, as we talked about earlier, and this just gets a lot of value too, especially if your opponent, their only way to remove it is to attack into it early. You just get a lot of value from it. So I don't have much more to say. I think Bardock is in a good spot, and it's cool to see it top 8 here as well. So, but that's going to be it for me. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. Thank you again to Lookout for providing the deck list, and make sure to check out their channel as well as their live stream that they did for this event, and make sure to check out the tournament if you're able to do it too. So that's going to be it for me. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll catch you all next time.